Does the gym really prepare you for real life? Can lifting weights and a smooth gym floor prepare you for uneven ground? Does perfect form in a controlled environment hold up when life throws you off balance? Because real life doesn't come with perfect footing, perfect grip, or perfect timing. In reality, life isn't predictable. The ground isn't always flat. The load doesn't always sit perfectly. And you don't always get to rest before the next task shows up. This isn't theory for me. I work as a UPS driver. My job is physical, every day in changing conditions. Different loads, different environments, different level of fatigue. So when I talk about functional, I'm talking about movement that has to work outside of controlled settings. And that's why the word functional matters. Not as a buzzword, not as a trend, but as a question. Does your training really transfer when conditions change? Recently, I came across an article from Mind Pump Media that argues the gym is functional enough for real life. And on the surface, that sounds reasonable. Strength matters, basic matters, but the moment I read it, one thing stood out immediately. The argument assumes something that real life doesn't allow, and that's where the disconnect begins. Let me be clear about something first. The article isn't wrong about everything. Strength matters. Basic movement patterns matter. For a lot of people, going to the gym and getting stronger will absolutely improve their life. If you are sedentary, if you're just starting, if your biggest challenge is consistency, the gym will absolutely improve your life. No question. That is where most people stop and also where the problem starts. When someone says the gym is functional enough, they're assuming something specific. They're assuming that life looks enough like the gym. Flat ground, predictable loads, clean grips, plenty of rest between efforts. But real life doesn't work like that. When you remove the environment from the equation, you're no longer talking about function. You're talking about strength in isolation. And this is where I learned the difference firsthand. When I started working, I was training. I could lift, I could move weights, but my body was not prepared for the environment. My knees were constantly hurting. My legs will fatigue fast. My forearms were wrecked by the end of the day. Energy-wise, I was drained after work. Same job, same route, but the way I trained did not match the way I worked. That is when it clicked. Environment is not an accessory. It is not something you add later. Environment is a test. Function only shows up when force, balance, grip, coordination, and decision-making happen at the same time under conditions you don't control. The gym removes friction by design. That is useful, but it also removes the very thing that forces real adaptation. Once I changed how I trained, everything shifted. I started training for uneven surfaces, awkward carries, fatigue, longer holds, and here's what happened. My knee pain disappeared, my grip improved, my legs stopped burning half day through the day. Same job, but now easier. And the biggest change was not strength, it was energy. I stopped finishing my days exhausted. I stopped limping into the weekend. I could recover faster, start the next week stronger, actually look forward to it. Not just capacity, but resilience. And that's where most people find out what functional really means. Now, this analogy may sound silly for someone out there, but for most people, this may be helpful to understand better. Think of your body like my Defender. The Defender is an all-terrain, very capable vehicle, right? In the gym, you're basically building the engine, just like how I've got a P400 inline-6 mid-hybrid turbocharged engine. That's a strong engine, maybe the equivalent of squatting 400 pounds. But here's the deal, a powerful engine alone doesn't make a vehicle functional off-road. My Defender also have adjustable air suspensions, lock-in differentials, terrain modes, the ability to wade through water. It's not just built to go fast on a smooth, straight road. It's built to handle messy and unpredictable terrain. And that's where most people get stuck. Because the gym alone is not enough. The gym builds capacity, but it doesn't automatically teach you how to apply that capacity when the environment changes. Some people train like they're building a V8, maximum output, maximum power. Others only need a 4-cylinder, enough strength for daily life. That's your choice. You don't need to be an all-terrain beast, but you do need some level of functional adaptability. Because if you only ever train on smooth surfaces, you're like the defender that never left the highway. Strong, yes, but unprepared. The moment the terrain changes, you have to slow down, or you risk injuries, breaking down because you never trained for the real world conditions. And life will change the terrain on you. First responders, military, physical demanding jobs, they need more capacity. Just like building a defender for off-road racing. But even for everyday life, storms, uneven ground, unexpected demands, the same principle applies. Train for the environment you actually live in, not just for the one that feels comfortable. I'm not saying the gym is wrong, it's recognizing its limits. A system only trained in perfect conditions can claim full function in imperfect ones. So when we talk about functional training, the question isn't whether the gym works. It does. The question is where it stops working. Because strength built in perfect conditions only tells part of the story. If your life looks like the gym, flat, predictable control, the gym might be functional enough. But most people don't live there, and life doesn't wait for a perfect setup. That's not a knock on the gym. It's a reminder that function doesn't live in isolation. It lives in the environment. If this made you rethink how you train, subscribe, share, and leave a comment and tell me where your training actually shows up in real life. Not the gym, real life. And if this is the direction you want to go deeper into, there's more coming. In the next video, I'm going to break down how I actually think about functional training. Not a list of exercises, not a routine you copy and paste. I'll show you how I design workouts based on environment, fatigue, transition, and real-world demands, the same way I approach my own training. Because once you understand the thinking, you can build your own system, no matter where you train.